First edition AD&D had level limits for non-human characters, and I want to talk about it today on Greyhawk Grognard. In first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, human characters had unlimited ability to go up in levels in almost all classes. Some classes just had a natural limit, like druids, or monks. You could only go so far because that's as far as the class allowed. But in general, if you played a human, you could go up in a level as high as you could, um, without limit. Usually in first edition, things peaked around level 15, and the real sweet spot was like level 9 to 10. 8, 9, and 10. That was like where we mostly landed in terms of what was fun enough to play, and then we would kind of start with new characters. But if you played a demi-human, gnomes, halflings, elves, dwarves, half-orcs, then you were limited. You were limited not only in what classes you could take in terms of multi-class options, but you are also limited to certain levels. So if you are, for example, dwarf, then you can go up to 8th level as a cleric, 9th level as a fighter, unlimited level as a thief. Most classes had unlimited ability to go up as a thief. I'm sorry, most races did. And you could be a 9th level assassin. And there's similar things, and there's some adjustments. If you have a very high strength, it goes up a little bit. But on the whole, that's you if you're of this class and you're this race, you can go up to this level maximum. And that combined with the limitations on, so like, for example, a dwarf can't be a magic user, or an elf can't be a paladin, that kind of thing. Those tended to limit the prospects of non-human characters, and this was done very deliberately on Gary's part when he designed this. And the reason behind this decision, in his own words, this is from Dragon number 95, in one of his from the Sorcerer's Scroll columns. Demi-humans were limited in the first place in the original rules because I conceived of a basically human-dominated world. Considering their other abilities, if most demi-humans were put on a par with humans in terms of levels they could attain, then there isn't much question as to who would be saying "sir" to whom. So, in other words, if you're going to have a human-dominated world, you have to have these breaks on demi-humans, because they have other abilities that give them an advantage. It is a sort of a balancing mechanic to have level limits and to limit which classes that they're allowed to go into. So this does make a lot of sense in terms of setting design. It does make me wonder, if you wanted to have like an elven dominated world, would it make sense to just not have level limits on elves, and maybe even put them on humans to kind of reverse it? But that's not the default D&D world. The default D&D world is humans are everywhere. Humans are usually the predominant race, and there's a bunch of other races.
A ghoul leaps out and attacks you. What do you do?
I use my Staff of Thunder and Lightning and blast him. Do thy worst, freak.
Explore the role-playing game where fantasy comes to life with magic, monsters, and endless options. Adventures Dark and Deep. Available now at adventuresdarkanddeep.com.
As well. Now, in that same article in Dragon, the whole point of the article was to raise the level limits, because, as he says, after long contemplation of the plight of dead-ended demi-human characters and considerable badgering from players with the same, it seemed a good plan to work up some new maximum levels for those demi-humans with supernormal statistics, and in a couple of cases just reward those with high stats across the board. So basically, they're bumping up the maximum level limits, and they do go up quite significantly, which is kind of a good thing for if you're a demi-human. And this is where we get into, in the Player's Handbook, there's just that one table because things are simple enough. But in Unearthed Arcana, I don't know if you can see that, they have he makes these tables for different races, and then based on their ability scores, you have a maximum. So in Player's Handbook, there were some parentheticals and some footnotes and stuff, but here it's all laid out in a table, so it's much more easy to read. So if we go back to our dwarf as an example, a dwarf with an 18 wisdom can be a cleric. If you actually have a super normal wisdom, you can go up to level 16 if you have a 20 or a 21 wisdom. Obviously those are not things that you can normally obtain. They have to be done through magical means. But the door is open to do that with demi-humans, which is neat. They also break out some of the races into their sub types, whereas in the original Player's Handbook it was just across the board. So fighters it depends on which kind of dwarf you are. If you're a fighter, if you're a hill dwarf, you have one set of maximums. If you're a mountain or gray dwarf, you have another set, and so on. And they do the same thing with elves. Dark males and dark females have different level limits. Wild elves will have different level limits. Gray and high for fighters, gray and high, valley, wood, wild, and dark elves all have different maximums. So it's very specific to the type of race that you have, and that's because when we got Unearthed Arcana, it really broke out a lot of the sub races into something a lot more defined and meaningful than it was in the Player's Handbook. Basically, in the Player's Handbook, it was kind of minimal. It might shift around where you got a +1 when you rolled up your character, but that was about it. In Unearthed Arcana, to kind of bump that up a little bit. And when I was doing Adventures Dark and Deep, this is what I used for dealing with the demi-human levels. Although I kind of simplified it a lot. In terms of multi-class options, if you were this race, you could have two, in this class, you could have one or two others. There's a table. Rather than defining, elves can only be fighter, magic user, thieves, and fighter, magic users, it's kind of opened up. But in terms of AD&D First Edition, you were still limited in what multi-class options you could use. So between the two, there's still level limits, and they're still, obviously inferior to humans once you get up to those stratospheric levels. But at least there's hope for a player character. You could go on a quest to get your strength magically increased, or go on a quest to get a girdle giant strength or something like that. And there's incentives now to improve your stats and be able to go up in level. So that's basically it. I just wanted to quickly go through it because I know it is a very different concept from what you see in 5e, or even in I think they dropped the whole concept in third. So but I think there is something to be said for it, and in a practical level, at least in first edition, because as I say, the sweet spot where you're really going to peak anyway is around 10th level. The disincentive for demi-humans is really kind of not all that important, because it's not like there's going to be a zillion 20th level characters walking around, and if there are, your game's probably overpowered. So, but that's another discussion. So anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts. I know most people nowadays don't like level limits. I love them because I do think there is a very real rationale for it. It's the only way to really explain why elves and dwarves and so forth aren't ruling the planet. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear you chime off in the comments. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and stay safe from Pinkertons.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.